All right, hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out as always. So a little something different today. I wanted to share with you guys my Rhinar Blitz deck. I used to play a lot of Rhinar. I used to play a lot of Brute before I found Zen State. And Rhinar and Brute in general has gotten some really interesting tools and heavy hitters. So I decided to revisit him recently. Brought it to a couple armories, and I think I'm 7-0 or 6-1. I can't quite remember. As a record so far at 2 armories, so the deck is performing really well, and I wanted to talk through it. I wanted to share it with you guys, so we'll take a look. I'll talk through some of my decision points in the deck and some things that you might want to consider moving forward if you are to pick this up. So I'll make this public as always on February. So you should be able to find it, and I'll link it to the video. It'll be in the description, and you should be able to track it down on February as well. So surprising, I know, if you're new to the channel, if you're following, or if you're just stumbling on this because you're interested in Rhinar. I mostly do Zen State content. I'm a big Runeblade fan, so back in the day in Blitz, I used to play mostly Chain and Rhinar before Zen State was released, and now I've been pretty obsessed with Zen State. But you know, moving into RTN season, preparing for RTN, I am considering bringing Zen State. I'm also considering bringing KO, so I'm between those two decks right now, so trying to get some more reps on Brute, revisiting the archetype. So anyways, Rhinar, I think I prefer Rhinar in Blitz over KO. KO is more consistent and probably a stronger hero in Classic Constructed, although there are some really interesting Rhinar builds in CC as well. But anyways, that's beside the point. Decided to revisit Rhinar here with some new pieces, and this is what I've come up with as a first draft. And again, as mentioned, I've had some really good success, so I'd like to hear about how you guys are doing on the deck if you choose to try it out. So we got Rhinar at the helm here, old and trusty, so whenever you discard a card with 6 or more power, you get to intimidate your opponent. Apex Bonebreaker is such a good legendary arm piece that we got access to now in heavy hitters, so no-brainer addition. It's temper 2, so it essentially represents 3 health, or your ability to block out 2 break points, depending on how you want to look at it. And when this defends together with a card with 6 or more power, which Brute likes to play 6 or more power attacks, you create a might token, which gives you a little bonus value there as well. So lots of value in that piece. We're playing Fiendel's Spring Tunic as a default chess piece. I'll show you the other option in a second here in the sideboard. But this deck is mid-range-ish. Unless you're really trying to put your foot on the gas and race somebody, it is set up for more of a mid-range sort of game plan where you're, you know, blocking out, you're comfortable blocking, you have a lot of 3 blocks, and trying to set up for a bigger turn, right? So Tunic can represent that one additional resource that you sometimes need to go wide or to, you know, do something spicy. As a default weapons, you have 2 arms, which is great. So you get to play both Mandible Claws, which are very impactful for your Blood Rush Bellow turns, which is arguably your, you know, most impactful turns. You're trying to set up for those Blood Rush Bellow turns, or you're trying to set up for like the 2, you know, game enders. Blood Rush Bellow, go wide, or Intimidate, okay, and pull cards from your opponent's hand and present a really tall attack that they can't block because they don't have cards in hand anymore. So those are the 2 like outs we're trying to play to. So Mandible Claw really comes into play for that go wide strategy when we're able to set that up. Scabskin Leather's scary, but Battle Worn 2, so it represents 3 points of health against 2 breakpoints that you can get over. And to get us out of a bind, you know, we're trying not to rely too heavily or lean on this ability, but it can be very impactful if you're rolling hot. So roll a 6-sided die, gain action points equal to half the number rolled, rounded down. The issue is if you roll a 1, your turn is over. You gain 0 action points, and you've consumed your action point to roll this or use this ability, so your turn is over. If you roll a 6, on the other hand, you get 3 action points, and you're able to do crazy stuff, especially into Prism. You can pop auras without really thinking about it. Spectra, you know, doesn't matter. You don't need go again. You have action points. So anyways, Leathers can be impactful, but it's a break in case of emergency style effect. Mostly we're using it for the block. Scowling Fleshbag is an amazing card. Bill from the Spike Feeders, shout out, good friend of mine, has been singing its praises for a long time. If you're familiar with the, Living Legends podcast or anything like that. And it is a very elegant design. It blocks for 2, and it intimidates your opponent in a defensive manner, which is really interesting. If you're across the table from a Fi or somebody who is like trying to set up this really, really wide turn, this will disrupt that turn. You could pull that key piece that they need to present this wide turn and try and kill you, and can really save your life. So Scowling Fleshbag it's hard to put a number. Yes, it blocks for 2, but it can represent, like, you could be preventing 8 more damage or 10 more damage. So it's really hard to put a number in terms of value. The ceiling on Scowling Fleshbag is so high. Sometimes we're just using it for the block 2, and it's not really, the Intimidate effect is not relevant, but often it can provide you the breathing room to basically swing back. Okay, into the 40, and spoiler alert, I have no sideboard in terms. This is the 40 that we play into every matchup. I will discuss an option for you guys. All of our sideboard is just equipment. So this is the 40. Okay. Right off the bat, I have some options for you. So I'm running Alpha Rampage. I decided in this build that I wanted to lean into the Intimidate keyword. Okay, so I'm trying my 2 outs, as I mentioned already. Blood Rush Bellow, tried to go wide, or intimidate the hell out of your opponent, pull all of their cards, and hit them hard. So Alpha Rampage does this very, very well, but I see a few options for this slot. So this is like my finisher slot, okay? So Alpha Rampage, it represents 2 intimidates essentially. So it's a 3 for 9 that pulls 2 cards from your opponent's hand. It does require 2 cards on your hand or on your part. So it requires you to pitch for 3. It also requires you as an additional cost to discard a random card. Best case scenario, this is like a Beast Within. Maybe this is, if you have like a blue, an Alpha Rampage, a Beast Within, you can pitch the blue, play Alpha Rampage, as an additional cost. Discard the Beast Within. You get 2 Intimidate triggers. Intimidate off of the discard from Rhinar's ability. And then, there's the word Intimidate printed on Alpha Rampage as well. So you get to pull 2 cards from your opponent's hand. Imagine you have a Barraging Beatdown in front of this. So now you've pulled 3 cards from your opponent's hand, and you're swinging in for 13. Pretty impactful. So the name of the game here is Intimidate, if you choose to go with the Alpha Rampage game plan. I do like it. So something to consider. A couple alternate options for this. So this is like my Smash Face slot. This is like my Game Ender slot. And the game plan here with Alpha Rampage is intimidate the hell out of your opponent. Okay? Can work really well. Oh, the reason, to finish my thought, Beast Within is the best case scenario is that when you do discard this as an additional cost to pay for Alpha Rampage, for example, you get to pull you get to get a card back essentially. So you reveal the top of your deck. If it's a 6 or more power, you get to put it in your hand, and you lose a life until you find a card with 6 or more power. So I'll come back to that. So Alpha Rampage, one of your Smash Face options. I have a couple more options for you here. Show No Mercy, our new Rhinar specialization from Heavy Hitters, does very much a similar thing. I wouldn't play both in the deck, but this is maybe you play one of each, or you play around with one of each, or you just go with 2 Show No Mercy. It's easier to play out, so you don't need that 3-card hand. You can just pitch a blue, play this out. It does still intimidate. You don't get the second Intimidate from having to discard a 6-power card or having to discard a random card from hand, but often that's a 6-power. So a 3 for 6 with 1 Intimidate. So, okay, doesn't seem as good, but if the defending hero has no cards in hand, this gets +3. And the thing I didn't consider originally, which my friend Tyler has kind of talked me into, shout out Tyler, thank you, is this is constantly checking, right? So if it gives them a really interesting decision, your opponent, whether they want to block or not. Because if they only have a couple cards left in hand, like if you present something else like a Wild Ride or a Go Again and then Show No Mercy, if they only have a couple cards left in hand, if they give you those cards, this will get the buff retroactively. So if they choose to block this out, they have to consider this +3. So it is going to get the +3 if they give you their hand. So if you go like Barraging Beatdown, or you have some Intimidate mechanic, you pull a card from hand, you play this out, you pull another card from hand. They have 2 cards left in hand. If they want to cover this 6 up, they give you both cards. It goes up to 9, and then you're still getting over. So it's a really interesting card. I haven't had much opportunity to test with it yet. Again, as mentioned, it's easier to play out. It still has an interesting effect. Often it will represent that 9 if they don't want to take any damage, and it could close the game out. So really interesting consideration. I might go to 1 and 1 and see how they feel, because I think they both serve like slightly different purposes. If you're going for the heavy Intimidate game plan, though, then Alpha Rampage might still be the choice. So just to be aware of, Show No Mercy is something that I'm thinking about for the deck. I'll come back, or actually no, our other Smash Face option here is Savage Beatdown. This is like high ceiling, so a lot needs to go right. Just like Alpha Rampage requires 3 cards, this one Show No Mercy requires 2 cards. This is like the Magical Christmas Land one. The ceiling is much higher, so it comes in for 12 often. So here you go. It's a 3 for 6, but you can only play it if you've discarded a card with 6 or more this turn. So it's like on a Blood Rush Bellow turn. You could play this out if you happen to draw into it. So again, like, or, if you're sitting on it in Arsenal, it can be fine. But sometimes it's just gonna be a brick. It can block for 3, which is great. So high ceiling, but much harder to meet the conditions for this card. As an additional cost, you have to discard a random card. So just like Alpha Rampage, it has that condition, but it has the additional condition that you had to have discarded a card before as well, which makes it harder to play. However, if you manage to meet both of these conditions and you discard a card with 6 or more power, it gets +6. So it's a 3 for 12. So very high ceiling, 3 for 12 rather than 3 for 9, which is essentially what the other 2 cards represent, but harder conditions to meet. So something to keep in mind. But if you're really looking to Smash Face, this is a card you might want to look at, okay? So those are my 3 Smash Face options. We're going to stick with Alpha Rampage in this build, and just to lean into that Intimidate sort of mechanic. Okay, that was a long-winded discussion already, so let's move on with the deck. I am playing Rainbow Barraging Beatdown. Again, Intimidate is the name of the game here. This has Intimidate keyword printed. It costs 0, and on red, it buffs your next attack by +4 unless they defend with 2 non-equipment cards. So they have to give you 2 cards from hand, or a card from hand and a defense reaction from Arsenal. Can shut this off as well. Like the game plan is to intimidate them to a point where they can't give you 2 cards, right? So if you're intimidating them 3 times, unless they have a defense reaction in Arsenal, they really can't respond to this, or they can't shut this buff off. So I really like Barraging Beatdown. Honestly, the Intimidate part of this card is likely the most important, but the buff can be very, very impactful for trying to close the game out, and we're able to intimidate like 3 cards from their hand. So Rainbow Barraging. Massacre is another one of those payoffs for when you do discard, have to discard this to pay as an additional cost sort of thing. So if you've discarded a card with 6 or more power this turn, this does gain +2 and Intimidate. So if you're playing it out, if you're attacking with it and you meet this condition, so for example, off of Blood Rush Bellow, so if you've managed to intimidate somehow, we do have agility now in the deck, so there's opportunity to go wide. But anyways, if you've managed to discard a card this turn, this is a 3 for 8 that intimidates. Awesome, right? But its second ability is great too. So if it is discarded to pay the cost of a brute attack action card, it intimidates. So imagine this scenario. You have Alpha Rampage, a blue, and Massacre in your hand. So you pitch the blue, you play Alpha Rampage, and you discard the Massacre to pay the cost of Alpha Rampage. So Alpha Rampage intimidates. Rhinar intimidates due to his ability, and Massacre intimidates because of its second ability. So you get 3 intimidates, and you're coming in for 9. That's a 3-card hand. Imagine you have Barraging Beatdown. This is the dream, right? Red Barraging Beatdown, intimidate. Alpha Rampage pitching your blue. This is still just a 4-card hand. You don't even need an arsenal. So Alpha Rampage pitching your blue. Discarding Massacre. That's 4 Intimidates. You've stripped your opponent of their hand. They can't turn the Barraging Beatdown buff off. So now you're coming in for 13, and they have no cards to block with. Well, they probably have equipment, but anyways. So you get the picture. So Massacre has some utility here for sure. Pack Hunt is just simply a 2-for-6 that intimidates. So once again, can represent that additional Intimidate to strip more cards from your opponent's hand. Pulping is just such a great finisher as well. Pulping plays really, really well against or with Barraging Beatdown. So even just Barraging Beatdown and Pulping. This reads, it's a 2. It unfortunately doesn't block, but the power is so high on Pulping that we want to play both reds. It's a 2-for-6. When you play it, you don't even need an additional card in hand. You can draw a card, then discard that card that you drew. If it's a 6 or more power card that you've managed to draw and discard, or, draw, shuffle, discard random. This gains Dominate. Why that's important is Barraging Beatdown requires your opponent to block with 2 non-equipment cards, right? So they have to give you 2 cards from hand. If it has Dominate, they can't unless they have a defense reaction in Arsenal. So, red Barraging. So even if you just have a red Barraging, a random yellow, and Pulping, and you manage to, hit that 6 power off the top, this is coming in for 10 Dominate, and there's no real way to shut off Barraging Beatdown unless you have a defense reaction, okay? So really, really good. It also gains Go again, unless they defend with 2 non-equipment cards. So again, if you are able to give this Dominate, it essentially has Go again, okay? So Pulping, really, really great. Okay, new spice from heavy hitters, Rawhide Rumble. This is hot take. I am really, really impressed with this card. Again, we're leaning into the Intimidate. This is like Intimidate Rhinar, okay? He's very intimidating. Rawhide Rumble is a 2-for-6, which is similar to a lot of the stats, right? Pulping 2-for-6, Pack Hunt 2-for-6. So great stat line to begin with. And it has Beat Chest. So Beat Chest is an optional ability. So it's a 2-for-6 at base, but the ceiling on this card, as an additional cost to play this, you may discard a card with 6 or more. So if you choose to Beat Chest, pitch your yellow, play this out, Beat Chest, it might be a Massacre or a Beast Within if you want additional... well, actually, this is a discard. It's not an additional... never mind. Ignore what I just said. But anyways, so it doesn't really matter. So you Beat Chest, you choose to discard this 6. You get an Intimidate off of Rhinar, right, for discarding that 6 power. Then, if you've beaten Chest, you Intimidate them again. So this represents a 2-for-6 with the potential to Intimidate twice if you choose to beat Chest. So, again, if the name of the game is Intimidate, which in this deck build it is, this is amazing. It's a 2-for-6 that intimidates twice. Pack Hunt is a 2-for-6 that intimidates once, that we're very, very happy to play. Yes, Rawhide Rumble requires an additional card, like you have to discard. You have an additional card to discard to it, to the Beat Chest ability, but it can intimidate twice, okay? Savage Feast as an additional cost. This is just like, classic Rhinar stuff. Discard a random card. It is a 1-for-6, but it has that additional cost, right? You have to discard a random card. And it's as an additional cost. So now something like Massacre or Beast Within now triggers, since you've discarded it to pay as an additional cost. If the discarded card was 6 or more, draw a card. So this kind of replaces that card that you discarded, which is great. And it can be very impactful if this has Go again. Which we're going to be getting into discussing how we might be able to give it Go again. Moving on, Swing Big. This card's amazing. It's expensive because it's amazing. It's a 2-for-8, which is a crazy rate. If it doesn't hit, your opponent makes a Quicken token, but you don't even need to read this card. Honestly, that is irrelevant. If they're giving you enough cards to block this out and they get their Quicken, they're not going to be able to use it, really. I mean, they can float it to the next turn, but 2-for-8 is just bonkers. Such a good card, Swing Big. Wild Ride, a 1-of. We want to be careful with the volume of these no blocks that we're playing. And Pulping, I think just it often has Go again as well, plus Dominate. So Pulping, to me, is a better option between the two. But Wild Ride can allow you to go wide. It's a 2-for-6 that when it attacks, you don't need to have that additional card. You can draw, discard. If you get lucky, you discard a 6 or more power. You get an Intimidate from Rhinar, and this gets Go again. so that can allow you to go wide. So we're playing 1 of red Wild Ride. Talking about Go Again, a new card, Agile Windup. This is a 3 for 6, but we're not super worried about this. Its ability, though, as an instant, we can discard this to create an agility token. So on turn 0, we're happy to discard this, start the game off with an agility token. Agility, as a reminder, pops. So it's just like Quicken, but it's a forced Quicken. So at the beginning of your turn, it breaks, gives your next or your first attack Go Again. Okay. A fun little trick, our default is Mandible Claw. Mandible Claw has the ability, which I didn't read earlier. If you've discarded a card with 6 or more power, this gains Go Again. So that's why Mandible Claws play really nicely with Blood Rush Bellow, which we'll get to in a minute, because it's a requirement as Blood Rush Bellow, you need to discard a 6 or more. So, essentially. So then it turns Claws on. One thing you can do with Agile Windup, which is kind of spicy, is pitch a blue or a yellow, swing with Mandible Claw. It doesn't have Go Again, right? So you're coming in for 3. Instant speed before it resolves. You discard Agile Windup. Now you've met, Mandible Claw's condition. You've discarded a card with 6 or more. You get to Intimidate from Rhinar's ability as well. Then this retroactively gains Go Again. So you could sneakily get your opponent, they think, oh, it's just a claw. Nothing else following this. Take the damage. You can give it Go Again by discarding Agile Windup. It's a yellow pitch, which is also relevant in this deck, so it can pay for Claw. It can pay for a lot of our 2 for 6s, so that's really great in terms of resources. It's also a 6 power card, which we need a certain, volume of those, a saturation of those in the deck to make the deck work. So Agile Windup, no-brainer in yellow. Really good card at 6 power. Assault and Battery is another way we can get agility tokens. Great turn 0 play as well. Pitch a blue, play out Assault and Battery, which is a 3 for 6 that has the beat chest mechanic as well. So as an additional cost, you may. So you can choose to discard a card with 6 or more, Intimidate from Rhinar. And if you do choose to do this and you've beaten chest, then you create an agility token. So it's another way that we can set up a wide turn next turn. So another way we can make agility tokens, again, it's a yellow with a 6 at the bottom here, which on its own is very good. But this ability is also relevant. Beast Within, which I've already talked about, we're pretty rarely, it's a 3 for 6. It has the 6 power, which we want. We're not excited to play this out. We're excited to draw into it and discard it, or to discard it as an additional cost to play something. Actually draw into it. So one thing I'll explain about Beast Within before we move on is, and that makes it great, is, if Beast Within is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the combat chain, banish the top card. If it has 6 or more, put it into your hand. So it can represent card draw, essentially. And the great thing about it, so earlier I was talking about, Massacre has a similar ability, but we have to make a distinction here. So Massacre reads, if Massacre is discarded to pay the cost of a Brute Attack action card, Intimidate. So to pay the cost of a Brute Attack action card. So that's when we have that keyword as an additional cost, discard a card. As an additional cost, discard a card. So then Massacre works. Massacre does not work with something like Pulping that reads draw a card, then discard a card. This is not an additional cost. This is just, it's printed on the card. It's, something we need to resolve when we play it. So Massacre would not, Massacre's second ability here, Intimidate, would not work with Pulping or Wild Ride. Beast Within will. So this just says if it's put into graveyard from anywhere other than the combat chain. So when we draw into it and discard it for Wild Ride and Pulping, it does allow us to get that card draw. Okay, so this is often why we want Beast Within. It can represent an additional card in hand, which maybe we want to arsenal, maybe it allows us to go wider. So it's a great card. The 3 for 6 is sort of, a yellow, 3, 6, blocks for 3. Great stat lines. But instead of us being excited about attacking with it, it's this additional ability that we like. Blood Rush Bellow, amazing card. So this is one of our game enders. If you see both of your Blood Rush Bellows in a game, you probably just win. It just represents so much value. Pay 1, which Tunic can pay for as well. But often we're trying to pitch, if we want to pitch a blue, to pay this. We float 2 resources. So as an additional cost to play Blood Rush Bellow, discard a random card. So again, Beast Within. If we're able to manage to discard that, we get a card back. But anyways, our brute attack actions get +2 until end of turn. And the discarded card, if it's 6 or more, which you're trying to set up, you don't want to leave this up to chance and have like misses in your hand. If you hit that 6 or more power, you get to Intimidate from Rhinar's ability. You get to draw 2 cards, and it gains Go again. So you really want to make sure you hit that 6 power. Don't play this out if you have a miss in hand, essentially. So, and this can set up a really wide turn. So if you pitched a blue to pay for this, you have 2 float, which can pay for a claw, which gets the buff too. Brute attacks, not attack action cards. So claws now come in for 5. Best Blood Rush Bellow turn is like, pitch a blue, play this out, draw a bunch. If you draw another blue, that's awesome because now you get to go claw, and hopefully something else, maybe like a Savage Feast or basically any of your 2 for 6s if you have enough resources, which will also get the buff. So you're coming in for like 18, 20, over 20 maybe. Really, really impactful card. So Game Ender. Send Packing. We have a lot of yellow cards, you'll notice. Yellow is a great number. A lot of our attacks cost 2. Our claws cost 2, so these can all be pitched to pay for those things too. And these yellow cards are very, very impactful, so we're happy to play them for their abilities as well. This one is a new card from Heavy Hitters. It's a 3 for 6 once again. When this attacks a hero, banish a card from their arsenal. When the chain link resolves, if it didn't hit, return the banished card to their hand, so they don't even get it back to arsenal. The beauty of this is if that arsenal card is a defense reaction, they want it in their arsenal, and they want to be able to play it out from their arsenal. You're removing it, so they can no longer defend with it, and then they get it back to hand, which is sort of awkward at the end of their turn. On their turn, they're just going to have to arsenal it again, right? And if it hits, then they lose that card. They don't get it back. So it's really, really great card overall. It can kind of help circumvent arsenal defense reactions, and it can be very impactful. But again, yellow, 6 power, 3 block, love it. Here's another yellow, 3 power, or 6 power, 3 block. This just reads Intimidate. So, you know, worst case scenario, we have this in hand. We can still intimidate a bunch, like you Blood Rush or Barraging Beatdown. Smash Instinct is like triple Intimidate for God knows how much. Can be quite good. So this card can come in, but again, yellow, 6 power, 3 meets the conditions we want. Okay, now our blues, we have again, we're leaning into the Intimidate mechanic. So this card is just a 3 block blue that reads Intimidate. Go again. We have another one, 3 block blue that reads Intimidate. This one, honestly, the second ability is not going to come up very often. If you've rolled a 6 on a die this turn, so if you happen to Blood Rush or Scabskin Leathers, roll a 6, this will Intimidate twice. But often it's just a blue 3 block that intimidates. So another way we're trying to pull cards from your opponent's hand. I'll skip Reckless Swing for a second, come back to it, but here is our only blue 6. So we're really looking for that saturation of 6, but it's a blue, blocks for 3, 6. Chances are we're not attacking with it. As an additional cost, we have to discard a random card. So this is not the best card, but, you know, it's similar to some of the other cards we play. So it's not a bad attack, but honestly, blue 3 block with a 6 in the corner is great. Reckless Swing will win you the game often. So if we are on the back foot and we're forced to play more defensively, you know, sometimes we're giving up cards. We're maybe swinging one thing to 6. Maybe you're walking your opponent down slowly. Your opponent has to be very careful. We're happy to pitch these early game. You want to keep these in deck as much as possible and try and set up for late game. If you can walk your opponent down to 4, you know, if you are on the back foot and forced into more of a defensive sort of strategy, this can just win you the game. If you can walk your opponent down to 4, this represents each of these. You're playing 2 of them. This is a defense reaction, which blocks for 4. That requires you to discard an additional card to play this, but if that discarded card is 6 or more, you deal 2 damage to attacking hero, and this is very difficult. Unless you have prevention abilities somehow, this is very difficult to prevent. So it's sort of like 4 unblockable damage in your deck. So your opponent really has to play around this. They're really, really careful to not go to at least 2. If they go to 2, they're basically giving you the game on Reckless Swing. Even if they go to 4, it gets quite scary. So amazing, amazing, amazing all-star card. A lot of brute players, you know, have a kill count on their reckless swings, or they'll get their opponent to sign their reckless swings, because this will win you the game often. Okay, so Intimidate's the name of the game, as mentioned. You know, I do hope we're going to jump on Talishar and get some games in here in a bit. But I hope you try this deck out. I am going to, you know, quickly, let's go through the inventory here and some final thoughts before we do jump on Talishar. But let me know how it goes. Let me know if you have any suggested changes and stuff. Barkbone strapping, if you know, if you don't think the game's going to go very long, if you're really trying to race, Barkbone strapping can gain you resources in a pinch. You want to roll at least a 2. If you roll a 1, you get no resources. If you roll a 2, you get 1. So it sort of represents 1 tunic activation. If you roll a 6, you get 3 resources, which is amazing. Also blocks for 1 with Battle Worn, so you can block with it without worrying about it and later break it for its ability. Great card. Beaten Trackers is sort of a more of a guaranteed Scabskin Leathers. So when you discard a random card with 6 or more power, which you often do, you can choose to destroy this to gain an action point. So it represents basically 1 additional action point, 1 guaranteed Scabskin Leathers roll. And it also has Battle Worn with 1 block, so you can block with it and then again later break it for its abilities. So yeah, if you're trying to race, you're not too worried about blocking out. These 2 pieces are interesting choices. Gambler's Gloves, if you are bringing in, you know, these high variance cards like Backbone Strapping, or if you're anticipating having to roll Scabskin Leathers more often, so maybe into like a Dromai or something where you have to deal with multiple allies, stuff like that, Gambler's Gloves here in the sideboard for you. Optional cards, honestly, some of these sideboard slots you're not going to lean on. The main loadout is really tough to beat, this new Apex Bonebreaker, and the block ability of Scabskin Leathers, so use sparingly. We have Null Rune Gloves for AB 1 and 2, you know, Runeblade or Kano. Well, Kano not legal in Blitz anymore, but Wizard if we have a future Wizard. So we have AB 1. And we have some more AB, why not? Again, it's not really something you need to be worried about right now. But, yeah, the sideboard's not super well defined, honestly. There are some choices that can be made, which is also why I have this up. So if your meta is saturated with, like, warriors and sneaky damage, you know, or like high output sort of heroes, then No Fear could be an interesting option for your sideboard. You could put 2 of these in. The one concession you're making is it doesn't block. Well, I'll explain the ability. It functionally blocks very well. But it doesn't have a 6 power in this corner here, which can hurt the deck. We do need a certain saturation of those 6 powers, but this can represent a really interesting tempo swing. As an additional cost to play this, you can banish any number of cards with 6 or more powers. So if you have a bunch of 6 powers in your hand, you can essentially, this can be a 0 for 6, 5 at most. So when you play this, you banish, let's say the 3, well, it can be 6 if this is an arsenal. Banish 3 or 4 6 powers from your hand, and this prevents damage, X of that damage, where X is 2 plus the number of cards you've banished. And you get those banished cards back at the end of turn, so you can kind of swing back with them. So No Fear's an interesting piece that you might want to consider for the sideboard. Again, a lot of these sideboard pieces are just like placeholder cards. So you can play around with the inventory for sure. For now, as I'm testing this deck, relatively new on it, with these new pieces, these are just like nice little utility equipment pieces that may or may not, you know, that you may or may not want to test with. So Ravenous Meat Axe, another one here that just, you know, potentially is a 2 for 5, which is a really great rate. You could think about Club here too. So anyways, just some utility pieces that I want to try and play around with. But yeah, there's some tweaking to be done, and you can sort of adjust your inventory depending on what your meta looks like, okay? So, okay. Anyways, I hope you found that helpful. Again, let me know if you tried the deck, how it felt to you, what you would suggest in terms of changes in this heavy Intimidate sort of build. But yeah, let's jump on Talishar and see what we can do. Victor, interesting. I think we want to go first because we can. There's potential to do some Intimidate shenanigans on turn 0, and like, deck is the deck. We don't have much decisions to make right now. Tunic, we're happy. They might be trying to fatigue us, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so we start off with a couple barragings. I wouldn't mind sitting on this one in Arsenal. We can push a pulping, but then we risk losing our red barraging here. So we could barraging pulping and just try and push damage. Let's just try and push some early damage, or maybe force some equipment out. I think is the most guaranteed play. Yeah, so we're gonna barraging, intimidate 1 card, pulping, pitching making sure to pitch the non-6, so that we're reducing the potential for whiff. So we drew into and discarded the Smash Instinct, which brings us up to 10. Dominate, go again. So we can follow it up with Claw if we want, and they are going to take 4 here and give us some equipment. Test of Strength, they got a gold off of that, but that's no big deal. Or maybe it is with Victor, I don't know. But and I don't know if we want this in Arsenal, so honestly, we're probably just going to follow this up with Claw, but they're just going to give us a card. But again, I don't know if we want to sit on this in Arsenal, so... or we can go Claw, actually. Yeah, because we did discard a 6 power. So Claw, force them to give us their hand. They're thinking on reactions here, I guess. So pretty impactful first turn, honestly. I don't know if they, care to keep anything in hand, but they're not going to be able to. Unless they want to take some more damage. They've already taken 4. Give us their hand. So we don't allow them to set up. I think that was pretty solid. We see another pulping, which is nice. This could be more of a setup hand, too. So we're going to give them some cards here. Could just play the pulping again. If we do, we could block 5, take 3, and end with an Arsenal. I'm blocking like this because this will give us a... well, I could block with either of these, but I might want to sit on this one in Arsenal for a setup. I'm just trying to think of ideal situation here, but... I'm still learning the deck as well, so let me know if there's a better play line that I'm not seeing along the way here. So we're going to make our Might token from Apex Bonebreaker. We're going to take 3, so they're not going to get their Crush effect. And we're going to follow up with another Dominated attack, so we'll see if they manage to... Arsenal a defense reaction here. So we're going to go pulping again, I believe. Just try and walk the opponent down. So we drew up into Agile Windup, and we discarded that Savage Feast that we had before. This is a 7 Dominate once again, so they're going to be giving us a bunch of equipment here. It looks like they're trying to set up for a big turn. Sure. Do we want to discard the Agile Windup and set up... this is another one that we don't really want to sit on in Arsenal, because we often want to play it out. So I'm probably just going to make our Agility to float over to next turn. Float some value over to the next turn. If we had Tunic up here, we could swing Claw. I think we're just good with that. When we see Blood Rush Bellow, we're happy. They're swinging a very, very large attack at us, though. So we're going to have Tunic up. We could just send packing at their face, which would allow us to give them a couple cards. So, -4. Bonebreaker, make another Might. Scabskin Leathers. We're going to be taking 8. Wow, that's a big attack. Alternatively, we give them another 6 here, take 2, and just set up. But then we're relinquishing our agility and the might that we're about to make. I think pulling cards from their hand, like, this is going to get -4, though. Not great, honestly. I think we're going to go with best of both worlds here. Get some value. Agility's not gonna be great here. So, like, if we were being really greedy, we could Blood Rush Bellow and hope to draw into something, but I think I just want to set up for a big Blood Rush Bellow turn and just, like, give them something that they have to sort of play around. Even though it is getting the debuff, it's still hitting their arsenal. They have to give us a card. Again, I don't know if that was, like, the play. May not have been, but we do get to set up this Blood Rush Bellow. So, Scowling Fleshbag, the Intimidate into a Guardian like this, probably not going to be that relevant, since they're often just doing, like, one big thing every turn. So another big thing. We might just get the value. This is overpower, so might just have to get the block value out of Fleshbag here. Give them one of our swing bigs, or do we want... I think so. Take 4 down to 5, and then we'll see what we can draw into from our Blood Rush Bellow. Alright, our turn to swing back. We get to play our Blood Rush Bellow, pitching a blue, which is ideal. We discarded. What did we discard? We lost our Rawhide Rumble, which is fine. We drew into Massacre. I think we just go Claw, Claw, Swing Big, which is pretty good. So we're going to pitch this Massacre for the Swing Big here for that final resource that we need. But that is 20 damage, which is a pretty decent swing back. Might be able to swing tempo back in our favor. We're getting all of their equipment, which is great. Do another Claw. They're going to take that. Do you want to take another 10? Probably not, since your life total's 10. Give us Civic Steps. Give us a card from hand, go to 3. Then we play, you know, again, if we're able to walk our opponent down far enough, we're playing to our Blood Rush Bellow out. They might just be, if they're gambling, if we draw into Blood Rush Bellow, they're... Okay, they got unmovable. That makes sense. There we go. Okay, so we were able to strip quite a few cards from hand. We're going to pitch... so we did draw into Reckless Swings. It's a good thing they didn't go down to 2. They're able to present Golden Sun again. Victor's quite good. Are we dead? No, we're not dead because of Reckless Swing. But we're not happy. So we have to block with Barraging. This is 7. We go to 2. And then, but we can't really do anything on our turn. So we have to hope that they take a turn off. They've had some strong hands here. So I think we're just arsenaling this Wild Ride and hoping that they don't completely destroy us. We do have our other Reckless Swing, which could get us out of a bind if they're going to try and overpower something again. Cranial Crush for 8. Okay, so what can we do? We have a Quicken. We're happy to pitch the Reckless Swing as an out for later. If we go... I mean, I have to give them 2 cards, right? So we're going to give them Clearing Bellow no matter what. Tunic will be up, so we can go Wild Ride. I have to give them everything, but we can still go Wild Ride Claw, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, we have to give them everything, but we're playing... At this point, we're just trying to walk them down far enough where this Reckless Swing that we're about to put on bottom, if we're able to get down to the pitch stack. So we discarded a High Roller, but it's getting go again from the Quicken, so we didn't have to worry about that, which is great. And then we will be able to present Claw here. Honestly, they've had a really, really impressive game. And our hands didn't really line up that well. We'll see what we can do here. So they're going to take 2 down to 6. Give us another Quicken. We are going to Tunic Resource here for some reason. I don't know. Claw for 3 with Go again. Do you want to take another 3? Answer's no. So we'll see what they can do with a 2-card hand. I've been really impressed with some of their... Yeah, Chokeslam's pretty good. So, we can't really Blood Rush Bellow. We're going to have to give them 2 cards from hand plus Tunic. And then we go to 1. So what is the best 2-card hand we can keep? Yeah. Not looking great, honestly. We're probably just going to stuff Blood Rush Bellow in Arsenal and swing Claw. I think that's the best case. So what do we want to keep in deck then? Barraging for an endgame thing, maybe? Go to 1, present Claw, put Blood Rush in Arsenal, and hope they don't just overpower us to oblivion. Not looking great. Ooh, we win the clash, though. Look at that. Or no, nobody wins the clash. Both nights. They have a very scary card on top. What do they have in hand? They have a Chokeslam again. So we have to give them 3 cards, which is unfortunate. We're going to have a hard time playing this Blood Rush Bellow out. So we're just going to be clawing again. What do we want to... We'll get value out of the 2 block here, I think. There's no world where we have enough, or we string enough together for Alpha Rampage to be a thing. Beast Within can kill us at this point, so I think we give them these, and we're again just going to be presenting Claw. I think the writing's on the wall here. It's not looking great for us. They are likely just going to fatigue us, walk us down, but there's a world where they take a turn off, I guess. Not really. Because they're demanding 3 cards from us every turn, which is annoying. So, they need to leave us with 2 cards one of these days. If they do, then we might be able to come back. I don't want the Beast Within in deck anymore. I'll keep one of the blues, so we'll maybe block like this. And then same old Song and Dance. Claw, give us a card unless you want to go to 3, which honestly, if they have the right hand, they're probably just going to take it, yeah. And then Macho Grande. They want to keep an Arsenal. Oh, it has Dominate. Yep, GG's. We didn't draw into our... Reckless Swing is in the next draw. So, yep, good game. Not a great start for us, but yeah, big time GG's. All right, let's see what else we can do. Oh, Dorinthea. We're always so uncomfortable against Dorinthea. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. I should play more Warriors so that I understand the matchup better, but I don't want to. Oh, how much does this represent? We're not going to Reckless Swing this early. We're going to want to pitch that. Do we overblock it by 3? They probably still come over, but... undid? Okay. Warrior's Valor first. So now it's for 4 on hit go again. We're still going to overblock. Now we're only overblocking by 2. The question is that enough? Do we just give them everything? Maybe we just give them everything. Overblocking by 5. Take that, Dory. Oh, of course. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you overblock. They'll find a way. Oh, man. Don't like Dory. And now we're forced to give them equipment because we don't want them to get the counter. Man, that feels bad. I hate Warrior. Miserable. I'm miserable already. Oh my god. We can't really Blood Rush Bellow here. I think we can't beat chest either. This is a very awkward hand. So, what do we do? Because if we Blood Rush Bellow pitching Reckless Swing, there's a miss. There's a potential miss, so there's like a 50-50, which we don't want to take a chance on. So I think we're just doing this, and we're sitting on this Blood Rush Bellow in Arsenal. The second Reckless Swing, honestly, if they do some crazy reaction shenanigans, we might want to play it out. I don't know. We'll see. Blocking 6. Cool, we stripped 2 cards from their hand. Looks like they drew into a bunch of blues. So let's sit on this Blood Rush Bellow in Arsenal. Once again, I have a bunch of non-attacks, which is not great. I think we just overblock, present Pulping on our turn. We're going to continue to sit on Blood Rush Bellow. I guess they could have Route here. That would be not fun. Ah. Well, yeah, they can. This is the thing about Dory. It doesn't matter how much you overblock. They always have a way around it. They always have a way around it. It just, on this side of the table against Dory, it just doesn't seem to matter what you do. They're always going to be able to circumvent what you're trying to do. So, thankfully, I don't think they're going to be able to swing again here. They don't have any resources unless I'm missing something. Yeah. So that's fine. All of that just to deal 1 damage. Pulping. Let's put our second Reckless Swing on bottom of deck. We did not hit, and that's okay. You know, Dominate would be nice, but we're not going to be able to utilize this go again anyways. Tunic is not quite ripe yet. They want to keep their hand, which is a bit scary, but one of these days we are just going to take damage, and Fleshbag might allow us to set up for our Blood Rush Bellow turn. So they take 1. I wish we had a blue here if we are trying to set up for Blood Rush, but we'll pitch this Barraging Beat down if anything. We do have Tunic resource up. And then we have the Beast Within that we could actually discard, which would be kind of nice. I don't know. Let's see what they have. Buff. Pitch for Dawnblade. So they have a bunch of scary attack reactions. I'm going to call Blade Fury. Ooh, they had to pitch a red, though. Cool. So that, maybe this is a Fleshbag turn. Do we just block it? Because they'll have to pitch. No, they have reactions that cost 0, though. So if they react, we're going to strip a card from hand. If they react with a 0, it hits. They need a way to give it go again. Let's just do this and see what they do. Hopefully we hit the key card for them. No, but they did have to pitch for this, so that's fine. They're just dealing damage to us, which we're not that worried about. Cool. They get their card back, they get an Arsenal, but we get to do some Blood Rush Bellow shenanigans. So we discarded the Alpha Rampage. I would have rather discarded the Beast Within. We can go Claw, Claw, Pack Hunt. Claw, Claw, and still have Arsenal, right? And we have Tunic up. I think Claw, Claw, Pack Hunt sounds pretty good to me. So 16 with an Intimidate at the very end. Pretty good. Pretty good. Claw, Claw. Pack Hunt. We'll probably... We don't mind having Smash Instinct in Arsenal. They're taking a bunch of damage here. They're not going to be able to take another 8, though. They do have a bunch of armor still, so they could just throw 5... no, 4. So they're going to take 5 down to 4. But if they go down to 4, we might just be on the blocking plan until we draw back into our reckless swings. I don't know. Take 5, go to 4, pass. I don't know. The order's not going to matter because the reckless swings are going to end us the game, right? Iron Song, Determination, +1 Dominate. I see. So we're trying to set up for that. We only have 2 block on equipment, which is not ideal. Dawnblade's gonna dominate until end of turn. Courage, make it free. Wow, man, they must have a crazy turn here. I think we try and, I mean, they're gonna react with something, obviously, but we're gonna start trying to prevent some damage. We'll give them Massacre, Bonebreaker, make a Might. Probably not gonna be able to give them all of our cards anyways. We might follow this up with a Smash Instinct, actually, with a yellow and Tunic. It's not bad. Not bad. So we're happy to give them both of these. Fatal Engagement +5. Jesus. Sure. So I'll go to 9. That's fine. We'll go to 7. That's fine. As long as they don't kill us. I mean, we're happy to give them Senpai. We can't give them Wild Ride. But Wild Ride is a nice arsenal card. Sure. Make the Dawnblade humongous. Uh-huh. Sure. We have some... if they keep dominating their Dawnblade, it's going to be no bueno. No bueno. Another Dawnblade, which with some... Okay. Bracers. They have a 0 cost attack reactions for 7. We have to give them Sen Packing. I don't want to give them Tunic. Worst case, this is... Oh, they buff this to 10. We die. Damn it. So we have to... Because if this is... What is it? The 0 that we saw earlier. No, they pitched it. We have to give them Tunic, which sucks. Oh, maybe they were just bluffing. That makes me sad. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We still Smash Instinct for 7, I think. Unless we Wild Ride. But Wild Ride's not... What are our options? We could Wild Ride, then do nothing with the Go Again if we have Go Again. I think the Intimidate is more impactful here. So 7 Intimidate. They're at 4. If they go to 2, I think we're still like I'm not good at pitch stacking, but I think we're still a couple draws away from maybe even 2 or 3 turns. I don't know. I don't know if we can hold it out. Their Dawnblade has a counter now too, which is not good. 7 should be good to strip a couple cards from hand, yeah. Let's take 1 to go to 3. And then we have to be prepared to give them a couple cards. It'd be cool if they let us keep the swing big. For 4. How big can you make this? If we block 6, is that enough? You buff it to 7 and swing again. That's really bad. If we block 9, they have to buff it 5. I think we just have to way overblock here. And Present Claw still strips a card. And this, I think, should shut their turn down unless they have Rout. So then we Claw, get a card from their hand. We're trying to just delay until we get to our Reckless. Warrior's Valor. Dawnblade for 6, but really it's 9 or 10. So we give them 9 and hope it's not 10. I don't know. Let's see. Singing is Here's a card. Okay, so that still was able to shut their turn down. Claw. Same old song and dance. Trying to delay to our reckless swings. This is the out that we have to play to sometimes, honestly. It's still an end game scenario. So then you're going to have to shunt this, which is fine. We take the damage from shunt, which is also fine. Blood Rush Bellow. Blood Rush Bellow draw into reckless. They're not going to let us keep any cards, though. Do we block? We'd probably just block with it. Dawnblade for 3. They pitched Singing. Interesting. Can we get away with blocking 6 here is the question. If this is a route, then no. I think we're just playing to Reckless Swing out. So we keep blocking, way over blocking, I think. Again, this is where my issues into Dory come in. Now. Okay. I think Reckless is next turn. Pulping is also a very nice card, but we're going to have to give them a bunch of cards anyways. Yeah. This might be bad. 4 Dominate. They got us. Yeah, they got us. No, we were I think one turn away from Reckless. Unfortunate. Alright, GG's. We got to assume they have a buff, of course. So, yeah, didn't quite get there. A couple unfortunate games, honestly. I don't think it did a great job showcasing this deck. Blitz do be like that sometimes, but I would still like very much. I hope you guys tried this deck out for yourself. Like I said, it did perform very, very well at my local armories. The deck can feel very good. Those 2 matchups, I don't think were very representative of what the deck could do. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it either way. Give Rhinar a try. I think the new cards from Heavy Hitters are really, really impactful. Really, really fun deck. I'm having a load of fun revisiting Rhinar either way. But anyways, take care, everybody, and we'll chat soon, okay? Cheers.